All right, short videos that are code specific. I am going to try and be brief because you need this information quickly and concisely. Here we go. All right, common codes P0301 through P0306. This is a single cylinder misfire code distinguished from a global random misfire, which is P0300. The last digit, as you may have surmised, tells you which cylinder is misfiring, 1 through 6. 2, 4, and 6 are in the front, 1, 3, and 5 are in the back. So the single cylinder misfire code, normally, I suppose you can interpret this code in stages. The most likely answer is that either the coil has gone bad or more accurately, the wire has fallen off to the coil, the plug, or the spark plug is bad, or something ignition related, or the wiring from that coil back to the computer is bad. That would be the first place to take a guess. What'll happen is you replace that plug and coil, or just plug, or what a smarter mechanic will do is move, say, cylinder 1, move it to cylinder 3, and move its plug and coil to cylinder number 1 and see if the problem moves. And if the problem moves, then you know you have a bad coil or a bad plug. Baha. Although that's quite a bit of labor to take everything apart and put it back together, although it's really not that bad once you've got it apart. Anyway, let's move on. So the first thing you'll probably do is go after that plug or coil to solve this problem, but the code persists. Now what you're going to want to do is do a compression check where you test, or compare rather, the misfiring cylinder to the cylinder next to it. And if you find that that cylinder is low, that's the first indication of a pentastar tick, because the sound of the pentastar tick is caused by slop in the valve train, but the symptom is a single cylinder misfire that is not ignition. I suppose there are other non-valve related issues to why a cylinder would have low compression and thus cause a single cylinder misfire. But if you address the obvious electrical stuff first, the plug and coil and its wiring, and then you move on to the other symptoms, and then it gets no fun at all. The symptom, by the way, if you have, as the pentastar tick happens or as a misfire happens, if the light comes on and it's telling you that it's misfiring, but the light is not flashing, a flashing check engine light is the designator of an active and serious, severe misfire. If the light is on and flashing, you're probably going to be driving in 5th gear, and it's going to feel like you're rolling over rumble strips, and the engine will be running very rough and shaky, and it'll be obvious. But the light can be on with a single cylinder misfire, and the thing is still running fine because the number of misfires is low enough not to really affect how the thing is running and driving. I mention that because you as the driver can tolerate that non-flashing misfire for quite some time, 10,000 miles, 15,000 miles. It's when it gets bad enough to start flashing that it becomes really actionable. And if you'll think logically, if the problem suddenly came on and it's suddenly flashing and it's suddenly misfiring, the problem is most likely electrical. Mechanical problems that would affect compression and misfire would come on slowly, gradually, and would get worse over time. But a sudden, hey, it's flashing and I've got a single cylinder misfire, highly suggestive of a coil or a plug or wiring to a coil or some such. The rest of the things to know about the misfires is that technically when the light is on but not flashing, it's misfiring, but it's not bad enough to really affect how it runs. However, what it is doing is that cylinder, every time it misfires, it's putting unburned gas into that bank's catalytic converter. And over time, it will burn out that catalytic converter, resulting in a P040, P0420, or P0430, depending on which cat it is. So in theory, the cost of ignoring a persistent misfire at some point will be a catalytic converter. But if you've got 20,000 miles, that may be worth it to you, depending on what you use the span for. All right, a lot of things to say about misfires, but that's one of them, and try to keep it short. He's a goddamn lovely man.